Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour Podcast. I'm Brian, the other one's Jim, and Jim,
Hi.
what you drinking tonight? And don't tell me some bullshit.
Well, if it's supposed to be not bullshit, then I'm in trouble. Because I am drinking some leftovers from the old fridge again. So, I have the standard of Coors Light, and a special guest appearance by Yuengling Premium Beer. Because for some reason, my buddy last week brought that over. It's not the light, which is the worst reviewed beer on our website.
But the premium beer is...
Step up.
Yeah, it's like they added 2 extra hops to that water.
It makes a difference, I'll say that. Look, it's not good,
So does this...
but it could be worse.
Does this supposed friend hate you?
I think it was like, even when he bought it and he came in, he was like, oh man, I can't wait to see how shitty this beer is. Like, I think not really realizing just how bad it was going to be. And yeah, it was bad. So, yeah, that's my smorgasbord tonight.
It's interesting. So, Jim, I'm having a very particular beer that you know very well. Some would say you are the voice of this beer. If that gives... Damn it. No, you don't like that stuff. That's too high class for you. I am actually going with Fegley's Rude Elf's Reserve.
Oh, okay, throwback.
Yeah, so it's just that time, we're getting in the Christmas spirit. My wife was out at the store, was like, you know what, let me grab Brian some Christmas beer. She grabbed me that, and a soon-to-be appearing on one of the future podcasts, a specialty Mad Elf, which comes in some big-ass bottle, and I don't know what it is that's special about it. Might be aged in bourbon barrels, but either way, got me a 4-pack of this stuff, and it is damn delicious. If you've been a fan of this site...
Is it supposed to be...
Go ahead.
Like a special brew, not just like the gigantic, like, $200 bottle?
No. It's one of those bigger... whatever, I don't even want to try and guess the milliliters on it, but it's the bigger size bottles, but it's a special version of the Mad Elf. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, it should be interesting for sure. But either way, so the Rude Elf, if you're a fan of our site, either you check our site, watch videos, or you were one of the few that watched our video that we did where we
very few.
We decided to make 2 beer bottles talk shit to each other in a almost, I don't want to say stop motion, but a inanimate object style. We put a lot of effort into that one. Didn't get many views. You should go check it out. Either way, we've talked enough about this
It might
beer.
be still one of our lowest viewed videos for how long it's been up.
Yeah. But has a ton of cinnamon. A lot of people love to say, like, oh, it's a Mad Elf ripoff, which it really isn't because it tastes so drastically different. Honestly, other than having the word elf in it and the fact that it's, a Christmas beer and a strong, dark Belgian, there's nothing that's similar to those two. So if you've never tried it, you should give it a try, especially if you like the stronger beers. What I will say also is, if you've been watching me on Twitch throughout the night, and those of you who have, I really appreciate it. I went through about 4 Rolling Rocks while doing my little zombie challenge thing. So to top it off with this is gonna be interesting. We're gonna see how I feel.
Oh boy.
How about you?
We shall see, won't we?
You been drinking any other stuff tonight, Jim?
Nah, I'm still on. It's been a dry night, unless you mean like Sody Pop.
No, I did not goddamn mean Sody Pop. The fact that you're having any Sody Pop, god damn it, Jim.
What? Why can't a man have Sody Pop?
You're supposed to drink stuff that's good for you. That's bad for you, like beer. Beer's good for you.
Oh yeah, right.
But okay, so anyway,
now, I'm still in my like self-imposed not drinking unless like some kind of event or podcast or website shit. So yeah, that was my drinking or lack thereof.
That's hey, every man has his convictions, and you chose an odd one, but I respect it. So speaking of beer, what I wanted to talk about, and we touched on this last year. You are, as you've said many times, you're limiting your drinking, and we've said, now we're at a point where games and just generally our time is so, you gotta spend it wisely. You don't want to waste it, and you're gonna do it on good shit. So, when you do think you have the time and your friends aren't bringing you like the worst beer they can find, if you were gonna go out and buy beer, are you gonna just now try to stick to more like, you're not going to be adventurous and just try and grab random beer. And me and you obviously never did that to begin with that often. We would usually, at the best, get a 6-pack of shit we didn't know. But now,
I was going to say for like the first year we did, or the first year or two.
we got
especially
everything.
to get the written beers.
Yeah. But now, like, are you going to strictly just be, all right, well, I like Weyerbacher, so I'll try their shit. Like, are you going to be less adventurous in trying shit just because you're not drinking that much to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably be sticking to a lot of the ones that I know and are solid. Like, for instance, like Trogs, except for Nugget Nectar, I like basically everything they make. So, I'll probably have me a like either it's Dreamweaver or Mad Elf's back in season or any of their little smorgasbord of shit. Like, I'll be sticking to them, obviously. What else? I mean, yeah, the cheap brands will always wind up showing up because it's it's me. But, yeah, there's, like, random ones that I'll pick up. It's been a while since I've actually gone to, like, a beer store and gotten a random sixer, so I actually do need to go and, step my game back up that way. At least to have some, sipping beers.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe try some new holiday ones, because it's been a while since I've actually had a holiday beer I could consider new for me, so.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I mean, yeah. Like everything else, I'm like so torn because I want to try a million new things, but who got the time? And honestly, I'm not drinking that much either. So we're gonna be a lot more limited. I kind of feel like in general, obviously, I'm the one that stays a little bit more up on beer stuff. Since we've started this site, I feel like not that craft beer is what's the word I'm looking for? Not that it's going away. I feel like the popularity's gone down a bit. Like, it's not as talked about. Things don't seem as...
The bubble burst?
Yes, exactly. And we, I think, happened to be doing this at a time when it was really... I mean, think about how many specialty beers, even we were willing to stand in line for a couple crazy exclusives. But, I think that bubble is bursting, if not completely burst. I think there's an oversaturation of craft breweries out there right now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's one of those deals where, I love craft breweries for what they represent, people just trying to make beer, but at the same time, it's probably how many of those are just companies that are like thinking they can make a quick buck on making beer, and quite honestly, oh, it's another guy making an IPA, like we've never tried one before.
Right. Like, there's going to be the point where people are just like, fuck, enough.
Yeah.
Not even that they don't like the stuff, but it's just like anything else, it's just going to hit a saturation point where people just get sick of it, they rebel against it almost. Now, I mean, I still think like the market's still like fine as far as
for sure. I just kind of feel like if right now you're a new craft brewery and you're like going to try and get into it, man, you better come with, and it goes without saying,
something good.
Yeah, you better come with your friggin' A game, like, already there. Not, like, just trying to experiment, hoping you can make money. Like, kind of like anyone trying to start YouTube right now. Like, we decided to start our YouTube page, at the end of the like, I think the real bubble. So we were with everyone else. So, it's a super slow growth for us. We've been lucky enough to have as steady of a rise as we have, but man, if you're trying to start a channel right now, unless you're doing something really crazy or happen to have a just some
hell of a gimmick,
like you're not gonna have a chance.
Personality for days, maybe.
Yeah, that would help. But yeah, so as far as beer, I've just noticed, and I tend to be a nerd and keep track of like the industry itself for beer. And I know from 2012 to 2014, it was like one of some crazy stat, like it was the fastest growing American business model or some crazy shit. Like the number of pop-up craft breweries were crazy, and that's gone down now over the past 2 years, I think, by like 30%, 40%. So it's definitely a decrease for sure. But yeah, so that's our little beer spiel. I mean, Jim, unless you got anything else to really add to that.
Nah, not really, and it's almost like anything else, really. Oh, first off, real quick, shout out to Melissa from Cocktails and Consoles.
Yep.
She's actually in the Twitch tab right now.
Oh, I see you
and
communicating.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking right before
it's
this.
Almost like, what's the way to put it? Well, same with YouTube shows or even video gaming. Like, when we came on, like you said, that was, like, the big start of the craft beer bubble. And it was also the Call of Duty bubble on YouTube when, like, anyone could become a YouTuber and have any kind of channel and following just by doing that. But we got in on the ass end of that, and that sure as hell didn't help us.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and it's actually funny because that's a pretty damn good transition, if I don't mind saying so myself, into one of the topics I was going to say is, you know, if you knew what you knew now about YouTube, internet, whatever, and you could go back and we restart this channel, I mean, what do you think would be one of your earlier videos or focuses? I mean, other than what we regularly do, and what probably would have hit off more. You know, to give you an example, for me, obviously being such a crazy Call of Duty fan, and not that you're not, but I think even between me and you, I'm a little bit more. So
yeah, definitely.
So, you know, and I had a lot of crazy videos that have been uploaded since we've started the site, where, you know, I was, you know, getting crazy kills with throwing knives or doing sniping or something. Stuff that all became, you know, really popular, you know, well before we started our YouTube stuff. So what would have been something you think you would have really tried to push or do that you really enjoyed at the time when we started?
Stuff I enjoyed at the time that we started. Maybe we could have done more of the drinking videos. I know they took an assload of effort, and, like, there's another one of those things where I don't know if the payoff necessarily meant the effort or was worth it, but I don't know, I think it could have been more established as a true gimmick instead of, you know, I mean, we have the beer requirement meter, and we have the, you know, our review style and everything like that, but I think it could have been another thing to make us just a bit more unique than all the other YouTube reviewers out there. Once again, not that I don't enjoy doing it, because I sure as hell do, but maybe that could have been a thing we could have done.
Yeah.
Or what else? I mean, maybe, I think back then I could have done more of the hardware reviews too, just because I have so much random crap that, while now I enjoy making those videos, even though I'm far from any kind of competent video editor, but it's still a little thing where, like, I'll put up a random thing and that'll somehow be a video that does okay. And it's, you know, I like talking about the random dumb shit out there. I don't know if I would have put as much time into the Atari and Coleco video. Well, I like doing them, but even the Ataris, because, like I said, the payoff really wasn't there. But I could have condensed those videos down a bit for the effort, maybe. But outside of that, like, I still think maybe we should have started a year earlier when we first started talking about it, too. Maybe that would have been the biggest thing. That could have made all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I mean, and one thing I think we notice, I mean, just with the videos that do well, or, you know, whatever, you know, niche topics seem to be the thing that get the most views for us. You know, even some of them are still our most popular videos, like goddamn Parappa video, which is as weird, niche, whatever you want to call it, as possible. But then outside of that, other than, you know, the Simpsons games, they all actually did really well. A lot of the Mortal Kombats, but then there's like those random games that just, you know, some of the random Sylvester Stallone games did really well, and I think it's just because not a lot of people reviewed it.
The Superman games that did really well, like the PS2 and the Xbox One.
Yeah,
how those do too, so good. And I think also we're kind of getting screwed by the algorithm changing in the last 2 months, because we were getting some pretty consistent numbers back during the WWF games, and then the algorithm changed and we're in the toilet again. So,
yeah, it is what I mean. That's it. The cycle is what it is. Obviously, it would be more concerning if that was our full time. We were trying to make more like actual legit money off of it versus something we really enjoy. I think that would be the one thing, though, man. If we had started this shit back in college, imagine how much different, you know. Who knows? Not saying we could have made a career out of it, but the amount of time we could have put while in college and then leading up to now would be insane.
We could have, oh yeah, definitely. With all the free time we would have had then, comparatively.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just like every YouTuber, man, your first couple videos, the thing that sucks a dick is like, you're so stiff and you're like, the intent to do good is there. And, you know, we had the idea, but goddamn, the delivery is stiff, the this and that. I think I've shared this before, but, you know, one of the ways, you know, because I've always been the editor for our site, and I thought, let me edit the video first and we'll just talk to the video, because that will like make it easier. Because in my mind, I'm like, the video editing is the harder part, which it absolutely obviously is, that goes without saying, but I just imagine it wouldn't be that hard to try and, like, you know, link up your voice to what I've edited here, because we knew there's certain things we wanted to show, and I figured that'd be the best way. Yeah, that was fucking terrible, because number one, I was doing it based on my tempo and how I talk, and I tend to speak really fast, not a lot of breaks, and then, you know, Jim has pregnant pauses every word, and you know, he's a little bit more drawn out, so all of a sudden I was like, fuck, Jim, you gotta say this, different, you gotta do that. So all of a sudden it became almost impossible. Yeah, it became almost impossible to do it that way. So, then we smartened up and we're like, okay, well, let's just talk and then do video to it. And, you know, it is funny because you look at those early videos and, like, you figured it took us almost a year to get 100. Was it a year to get 100 subscribers?
It was a year to get 100 subs.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that we stuck with that alone was pretty good because, you know, not that we're anywhere near huge, but the fact that we're on the cusp of 3,000 subs now, and we're averaging like a couple, you know, easily over 100 every month, says something. It's like that's crazy because it's like, man, it would have been so much easier just to stop doing this shit. And you know, I look back at the old reviews, and not that I'd ever want to go back and re-review something, but it's like, I'm actually really glad we started with the shittier games that we did, because, you know, it's not games we super, like, you know, I don't have an affinity for Urban Champion. You know, I'm not going to be like, oh man, we didn't say the right things to that. But, yeah, it's very, very interesting. You know, we're obviously sticking with it, but you know, one of the things I see you just wrote to Melissa, and you can talk a little bit more to this, but, you know, YouTube is the main place to go. You could do Vimeo, and you could just directly upload to your site, but if you want to have people actually see your shit... Hey,
Bri. Would now be a good time to start promoting our VidMe page?
Yeah, that's what I was going to talk about, so... Why don't you give a little history lesson on VidMe and how we did on it and what's happened since starting to go on it?
So we've been on VidMe for, what, I'd probably say about a year now. And not that we ever really promoted it or really did anything with it. We just kind of use it as a mirror for our YouTube videos. So I've been uploading the old back catalog onto there. And, I mean, I think I got through all the Simpsons reviews. That's where, like, it basically held off right now. And, yeah, we're at, like, 28 subscribers and maybe 400 views total. So, if people are wondering why that platform died, not saying that we were going to save it or do well on it or anything, but holy shit, like, on a good day, we can still do that on a video after a week if we get lucky with the right algorithm and blah, blah, blah. Or before it changed, we'd get that within a week, at least.
Oh, for sure.
So, a year, like our best viewed video maybe had 20 some views on there. So yeah, that was not a platform that was ever going to challenge YouTube. And from what I heard from around, like it was kind of run shitty. They never promoted people, blah blah blah. So yeah, it's going bye bye.
When you told me about that platform, I was like, what the fuck is VidMe? Like, I had no idea. Like, didn't hear a peep about it. And then when I looked into it, I was like, okay, it's a different platform. Like, Vimeo kind of sets itself as that's the video platform for professionals. Like, that's where you do professional videos. That's kind of its gimmick. So I thought for sure VidMe would be one of those, like, you know, have a gimmick to it. It didn't at all. It just was, it was what it was. So I don't even know where you heard about it or who you heard about it from. But
you know where it came from? The first kind of like YouTube purge, like getting rid of certain channels or like bot channels, and the first big like hit to advertising like a year or two ago. That's where a lot of the YouTubers started to upload their stuff because they're like, oh shit, YouTube's dying. We need to have a backup. We see how that worked out. So yeah, you have the Vimeos, you have the Daily Motions of the world. Amazon kind of has a video hosting thing now, but it's like really specific. So like YouTube's still the place you got to be. Twitch's video uploading still hasn't even taken off yet. So
yeah, and that's the thing is, like, you know, I kind of would hope Twitch, stay what you're doing. YouTube, stay what you're doing. Like, you don't need to be all-encompassing with everything. And I know that, you know, will mean nothing and it'll never change anything. But, like, YouTube Live, I remember we talked before for a while about, like, what makes the most sense to keep uploading, like, live streams, like what we're doing right now. We could do YouTube Live for sure, but it is a hell of a lot more effort. Like, Twitch is easy to do. You can just, you know, for the most part, you do it right through your PS4 or your Xbox One. It's much more accessible. And even though, obviously, we're YouTube first and our YouTube Lives did pretty well on the streams, just didn't seem worth it. So it's like, you know, you got to put to a degree, you got to put all your eggs in a basket. I feel like when you start separating your duties and you're like trying to like spread yourself too thin, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a balance. Like, everything's got their niche. I really do wish something would challenge YouTube because it needs competition for the way it's handling business. Like, YouTube doesn't care about anyone but what would be on TV right now anymore. So, like, there's a reason that the biggest channels are now Jimmy Kimmel or James Corbin or fucking Fallon and shit like that. Like,
for sure.
They don't even give a shit about PewDiePie anymore. Like, they don't care about people like that. They just want to be, you know, they want to be TV.
They definitely want to be more mainstream. And, you know, to your point of they don't give a shit, I think that actually, I don't know if I would fully say that's a YouTube thing. I think that's more of a mainstream media. Like, I think they don't know how to deal with the fact that they're not getting the kind of views that you would want for a major TV like, if you put out however much money to produce a program and it's not getting that many views, and then, oh shit, but on YouTube you're getting like 60 million views, but our TV ain't getting shit. Because people just aren't watching it that way. Like, so they almost had to adapt their style to it. And I don't know if, I'm sure, you know, once they tie with YouTube and they pay to get it promoted a little better, that could be the case too. But, yeah, like I said, I just have to put that more on the actual mainstream media, not so much like YouTube. That was a conscious thing they did. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a weird thing where they both realize they need each other, but like a lot of TV specifically does things to try and get that viral hit on YouTube, which
sure.
I think that's dumb, but you know, it's kind of it's promotion. It's all about promotion anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean, more people probably watch SNL clips on YouTube than actual SNL. You know, same with like Jimmy Kimmel and all that shit. And that's not saying, like, that's not nothing against any of those, but yeah, people want shit digestible. When we started YouTube channels, like, the big thing was like, don't have a video over 10 minutes, like, or it won't get no views. And then algorithms changed, and it's like, you gotta have a video over 10 minutes. And it's like, if you're trying to specifically cater your content just for views, it becomes very obvious. I think one of the most annoying things I find right now is every video trying to be big. I think it's an automatic must that you have someone looking at a product or looking at the screen with their mouth wide open with some effect behind them. It's like, can't believe I opened the box and this was inside, and a shocked person on the front. Like, that's a thumbnail that is a must now. And it's like everything comes in waves. It's just funny. Like, I feel like most viewers can read behind the bullshit, and those are channels that ain't gonna survive. Like, how many strictly Call of Duty channels popped up when Call of Duty was in its heyday, and how many are still around?
Oh, yeah, not many.
But I mean,
like maybe White Boy and Ali A are still like big, but I know there's a ton of them that I used to watch that aren't around anymore.
Oh, for sure. And if you're too niche, you're not going to be able to sustain. But if you're going off even people who are like pretty much only a Nintendo channel, they've had to adapt to being a kind of everything channel, because that shit will not stay forever.
Oh yeah, actually, Brad, give me 2 quick minutes. I'll be right back. Do you have the stream in front of you, or
Yes.
the chat?
Yeah.
Okay, try and work with them because I'll be right back.
Okay.
I think you know.
Oh, I know. All right, so cocktails. I'm going to do my best. Obviously, I'm actively playing a game while trying to do this. So, I'm not even sure what you guys are talking about. But, I mean, cocktails, I'm sure as someone, you're like us. You started fairly recently with YouTube. It's definitely a struggle to figure out, you want to do things popular, but you want to do content you enjoy. And, I'm sure sometimes I can't say I'm sure, maybe you've done videos where you're like, maybe I wouldn't have done this video if I wasn't just trying to get some views, because you want your channel to grow and you want it to do well. But you also don't want to be stuck doing a certain type of video or a certain genre of gaming just to appease everyone, if that makes any sense. By the way, these zombies, I don't like them. Snarkcast was on with me earlier, and he knows this is my most hated goddamn zombie map. I just want to get to level 10 so I can say I've completed this mother effing challenge. That's all I want right now. Stop it. So all I want right now is a good perk. I don't even know where I gotta go. Whoa. Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Ay, Dios mío. I keep getting to level 9, but I can't get over that hump to level 10. It's really pissing me off. Actually, I don't even know. I gotta see what's coming down here. Fuck. Come on, elevator. Yeah, I see you're working on your Fallout. So, is that your fresh start, or is that new? Yeah, cocktails. The other thing I'll say for sure, you talked about, making a channel unique. So, I think your channel, our channel, it has similar ideas. Alcohol, gaming, that's not anything, neither of us obviously were the first to ever create it, but we both have our spins on it. And we tried to make sure you don't want to say you're copying anyone, but you just want to see who's out there, who's doing what. And the one thing I noticed is when we would try to reach out to other channels, and I don't want to call out any channels, not even saying channels that were even semi like us, people are really weird in the community, especially if they don't know you or they feel you're trying to do something. And we would write emails just like, hey, like, would you mind checking this out? Like, look at this review, or whatever we were doing at the time. Most of the time it was only the reviews, and I would just say, hey, would you mind checking this out? See what you think. Some of them never responded, and I don't get that, because one of the things we try and do all the time is answer every single. If someone's going to spend the time to send us a comment, especially because we're not big at all, like, you can answer somebody. You don't got to be a dick and just avoid people. I don't really like the whole sub for sub or shit like that, but if you just want to ask us a question or you want me to check out your stuff, sure, absolutely. Like, you should be willing to help people, because we were all there at one point or another. I don't know. That's just how I think about it. I'm also...
I'm back.
Hi, Jim. But yeah, like, a lot of people, to that point, Melissa, like, a lot of people, it was just, especially if we were trying to do a specific type of video that I knew people were good at, asking them just for an idea or this or that, they would just avoid the shit out of us. So once again, that was one of the driving things I think pushes us to make sure we answer anyone that sends us stuff, because it doesn't take long to answer a comment or even an email from people, and we've gotten some interesting ones, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Actually, surprisingly, for the most part, nothing really that bad, though.
No. Yeah, I won't go into what we were just talking about, because I just covered it all. All right, so you're back.
That's fine.
You're refreshed.
I am. God damn it, no connect. Go away.
All right, Jim, so it's your turn for one of the things I said you got to come up with.
All right, so let's see here. We'll start off with an overrated, underrated. And we'll do one that's a little close to home. And I think I know where we're going to go with this one, but I'd be interested to see. So, overrated, underrated is going to be the pre-NES era of video games. Do you think games from them are overrated, or do you think they're underrated? So I'm talking Coleco and television, Atari 2600, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I definitely know where you're going with this. Overrated, underrated. So you're basically everything before. You're not throwing like arcades in there, are you?
Nah, I mean, I guess you could throw them
like
in
just
there
home
because,
consoles.
Yeah, let's say home consoles. Let's go with that.
Well, I think
the home console pre-NES experience.
Okay. I don't think anyone downplays the importance and how significant, if you're talking consoles before NES, you just rattled off a bunch, but everyone, I think if you think before NES, all you think about is Atari. Like, that's the name that comes to your head. Sure, you might have been able to say in television or all those others, but Atari wasn't even the first, but it did it the best before NES did. So I think that's the easy one that everyone's going to point to or think about. I don't think anyone downplays the importance of Atari or even talks that much shit on the games themselves. I mean, you've obviously done your reviews. I've said I enjoy them. What I will say is the retro gaming, and you fall victim to this a lot, no offense, Jim, but the collection of those older systems, you feel like you're part of a specific group, and you kind of almost don't want to admit if something is or isn't that good, because you're in it, you're enjoying it, and no one should take that away from you. But when you try and say like, oh, the ZX Spectrum, and yes, I'm saying ZX because I will never say Z, or television, or all those, like, people are like, oh, it's the greatest. Like, is it really? It's probably not. So I appreciate what they did historically, but I'm just going to say, aside from Atari, I'm going to say most of that is overrated. Not taking in, putting historical stuff aside. So that's where I'm at with it.
That's what I figured. But
so Jim, tell me how it's underrated.
Definitely fair. And here's how I'm going to go. It's underrated, and I'm going to say it in a way that it's probably going to be a little different than you would initially expect. So, when people talk about pre-NES, the old 8-bits, and I know if you talk about fucking Europe, they're going to say all the microcomputers, blah blah. But let's face it, people talk about the Atari. So I'm going to say it's underrated for the fact that it's only because people only talk about the Atari. Because the other consoles, especially like when I went through the Coleco, were, I'm not crazy about the Intellivision, but even looking at the quality of the games on there, like, the Coleco blew me the hell away with how close to the arcade it was. Like, it was really a system that, trust me, I know the era and it was during the American Crash and shit like that, but the quality of the games there, sure, it's not NES or as deep as shit like that, but if you wanted the home console, you didn't have to use your imagination as much. It wasn't looking at, bricks and being like, oh, this is a person, and this is a guy with a sword with a, it's an arrow on a block. Like, there are actually real sprites with actual music and actual shit going on. So I think it's underrated in the fact that you have to look beyond just the 2600. If you look beyond that, you'll probably get a new appreciation for the whole era, but if you just stick to Atari, then yeah, you're gonna be like, the shit's so goofy and simple. So that's how I'm gonna say it's underrated.
Huh. Well, I think the only thing about that would be, I don't think anyone, like, when you, to your point, when they compare it to those older systems, I definitely think they're actually a lot more impressive than you would imagine. But how do I put this? I feel like there's a difference between something being unknown and, being underrated. I think once people do play it, they know it, it's good, and no one talks, shit or will say, it's useless. But yeah, not a lot of people are ever going to play any of those, especially as the collections get crazier and crazier. So that's interesting.
Yeah, fair point.
Okay, I like that.
See, it wasn't just me being like, "Oh, you gotta appreciate adventure." I can surprise you.
Nah, the surprise would have been if you said overrated.
Well, I know that, but that would have been too predictable of a surprise. So, haha.
Now the real question is, how do I put this? So you've already explained it your way. Even with what you just said, and even though some of those systems clearly have better sound, better graphics, would you still say you clearly prefer the Atari over those?
Oh yeah, just because of nostalgia.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, if I didn't, it would be weird. I would be interested to see what I would think, because without the Atari, I wouldn't have any interest in any of those consoles. But I'd be really interested to see what I think about those consoles if I didn't just, like the Atari as I do.
Okay. That makes sense.
Like, I wanted to know what it'd be like if I was, like, had virgin eyes for the era and I was playing the fucking ColecoVision,
Yeah. Now, what about the fact that you happen to own some of those consoles and affecting your ideas of it?
Well, of course that's going to affect the idea of it, but even say if I had a flashback one of those consoles as my intro to it, it would still be the same thing where I spent the time to get the money to play it. Are you just talking about if I just emulated it basically straight up without ever touching it beforehand?
Yeah, like just emulation, like take away the actual hardware, take away, your collecting that you like. You collecting a thing, Jim, whether you accept it or not, would take something that should get a B and it will get A+ from you once you collect it.
Not an A+.
All right, a solid A. It will raise it a grade letter for sure.
B+.
No, Jim, come on. You're not that partial. But, but no, I like that. Yeah, those systems though. Like I said, I think once people do play it, I'm sure there's a forum for every one of those systems or communities based around each one of those, and I'm sure they argue amongst what.
Just look at
what
Atari.
Yeah, well, what cracks me up when you just brought that up, I almost, and I'm not, it's not at all trying to get religious on here, but I almost look at those older or any generation gamer things. They're trying to split hairs about like why the ZX is better than the fucking Atari or this or that. Yeah, they're kind of doing the same thing. It's like all the different Christian groups are saying like, do this, do that. You guys are all kind of doing the same. Like, you should probably compare yourselves to a completely different style, and explain why that's better. I don't know. At least that would make more sense to me.
Nah, I hear you there. I mean, again, it's one of those kind of... There is definitely kind of almost... Not so much a console war, because say you go on the Atari Age forums or the Facebook page, and I'm on that Facebook page, and they kind of have like a general love for that whole era, but it can be to a fault because they don't, they'll poo-poo other things when you'll see these giant collections of 2600 games where they have 17 versions of all 17 versions of Combat or Yars' Revenge or shit like that.
Yeah.
It can be a little goofy. It's as goofy as any other collecting kind of culture.
For sure.
Because, you look at NES people who connect, and it's like, why are you going to pay that kind of money for it?
For sure.
When, comparatively, you can be like, why don't you get a Super NES then if you're going to spend that kind of money?
Yeah. I also look at... I feel bad for people who were like, I started playing NES as a kid, never stopped. That's the only thing I'll ever play, and period. Like, I respect that if that's your favorite by far, cool. And but I feel like you're truly limiting yourself. It's like the idiots who, and yes, I kind of feel like you're an idiot. If you are one of those people who are like, I don't listen to any music past 1970. When you just stop altogether, you're like, okay, well, cool. Then you really don't even know what to compare your shit that you love so much to, or you're just missing out on stuff. So I kind of feel like that when you just stick with one system forever.
Yeah. Oh, there's shit to experience in every era, like, no matter what it is. So.
Oh, yeah.
If you limit yourself, you're not going to experience things. You know what I mean. It's all about getting those new experiences, and if you stop yourself, then you're just limiting yourself to, life's all about new experiences, so give shit a shot.
All right, Jim, so I thought of a random topic.
All right.
And I'm going to frame it the best
I actually have a random topic before one of our normals after you're done, so go on.
So, what common enemy type, trope, whatever you want to call it, when you see it in a game is like, fuck, I know. It's like, not saying like you hate the game, but you just hate seeing because you're about to have a pain in the ass time. And I'm not saying like you don't need to be super specific and say like, fucking from a particular game this. I'm saying like one that's in a lot of different games, but every time you see it, you're like, God damn it.
Alright, I'll keep this real general. Short enemies.
Okay.
Like Oddjob in GoldenEye, Imps in Castlevania, I guess Imps in Doom if you want to say that. Just anytime there's an enemy that's purposely, shorter than your character, you have to go out of your way. They're a pain in the ass. They're always fast, and a hunter in Left 4 Dead, for example.
Yeah.
Like they're just made to be like short, quick, a pain in the dick. You can't really prepare. Well, you can prepare for it, but you're not like. It always comes out as a surprise, and you're just like, motherfucker. It's always some cheap death. It's always some just cheap thing in general. So, yeah, short enemies. They piss me off.
Okay. I like it.
Ooh.
Yeah, I kind of, definitely, I'm not exactly there with you, but it's similar. My first one's super general. Spiders. Just fucking spiders from, any 2D platformer. Because they're never tough, but they're always like either just right in the way or something. Or in more modern games, to your point, they're small and they're always going to be lightning fucking fast. And you're just going to be like, what the ass? And in horror games, they're always like the fucking one of the creepiest looking shits out there. So yeah, spiders are my kind of go-to, and it's funny because I'm not really that scared of spiders in real life, but in video games I'm like, you asshole.
Yeah, or if they're a boss character, kind of like you're saying, if they're a goddamn boss character, they're always going to be one of the biggest pain in the ass bosses in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Resident Evil with the ones that poison you, or even fucking a game like Legendary Axe on the Turbo, and yes, I'm bringing up the Turbo, like,
That's fine.
goddamn, like, there's the first big enemy in the game's a spider, and he's a pain in the dick.
Yeah, you know what? So spiders are the general archetype, but to your point, I was at first going to say the really fast enemy in a game, because almost every game you're going to have just that fast asshole. But that's a little too general, so I will say, just if something fucking poisons you, I hate that.
Poison enemies.
Like, and I get it, that's a legit thing, that's a reason to have in a game, okay, but I hate them, because it's like, if you're playing an RPG, then you know you gotta waste things on an antidote. If you're playing, like Resident Evil, it was like, oh, now I gotta be fucking Rebecca to heal Chris. Or, it was like always something that you knew just were gonna drag your ass down. And it never made the game fun. Like, it didn't even add a challenge. You just knew with that poison came something you didn't want to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the difference between, like, Fallout's hardcore mode, where it was more of a challenge to micromanage so much, versus, fuck, I'm gonna have to do this. So yeah.
Even though I did like Fallout's hardcore mode, but
no,
I know what you mean.
Point.
It was
it
was just such unnecessary. What do you call it?
No, I know.
Yeah, like you said, micromanaging.
Yeah, and it just
my brain added out for a second.
It just adds a layer. It's like, fuck, this guy's. And 90% of times, if you have what makes the poison guys even worse, where they're usually going to be really fast, or they're the assholes that spray something and it's poison. Like, so it adds an extra layer of bullshit. Like, no, I don't know. That was always mine. But yeah.
Oh, the sprayers.
So that is a good ducktail into. So I know you have something, but really general, and I'm sure we've to a degree covered it one way or another before, but it can be really fast. What is the most common level in a game that when you see, same idea, you're like, God damn it, it's one of these levels? And I know I'm just going to throw it out there right now. I know the most common answer to this has to be either water or snow levels of any kind.
Or sewer.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I'll let you go first.
Water, you know what? It's weird, because, like, water levels, yeah, they kind of suck, but I don't think I've ever been truly like, water level, damn it. I think the ones I hate the most are levels with tons of conveyor belts. Because you're always flip-flopping back and forth between, level, the floor's pointing me this way. The floor's pointing me this way now. Oops, the floor pushed me up into the goddamn sky. Oops, now I'm dead. Like, it's always just some bullshit with goddamn conveyor levels. Like,
yeah, that's
the most annoying levels in Streets of Rage are always the conveyor belt levels with the cheapest deaths. The ones that look at any beat 'em up, look at any platformer, it's just a pain in the balls. So yeah, I have a secret long running hatred for conveyor belt levels.
That's actually a great one, which I didn't even consider. So for 2D platformers, I'm going to use that. However, I'm going to say I hate forced stealth levels in non-stealth games.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
It's like I love games that use stealth. A lot of my horror games I love that you got to be stealthy or you're going to be dead, or or you're allowed to use stealth. But when it's like recently playing through COD World War II, the campaign, every single COD usually has one where it's like, all right, silence your weapon, you got to sneak past the guards. That's not a stealth game at all. Like, don't try and mark it as, because you can just because you have a crouch button does not mean you can be stealthy. Like, I'm sorry, that's some bullshit. Like, you want to be stealthy, hide your ass in a cardboard box like Snake. Like, you ain't stealthy otherwise. So I always had a problem with those forced stealth modes or like levels or situations. That was always mine. And Snarkcast actually brought up a great one on our thing, which I thought of at first for sure, the escort missions.
Yep, that's a classic.
Those are definitely a pain in the ass, especially, and I think what he's probably referring to is the ones where it's like the most useless escorts, like a lot of the Resident Evils. I'm sure there's a gazillion things. There's some games where an escort might actually be useful, but 90% of the time, yeah, it's usually like, oh, this person that can't do anything and moves too slow, and will like... The worst is the escorts that can actually stop you from finishing a level because they get stuck or something. Like, the AI is so stupid. It's like stuck behind a bush. And you're like, what the fuck? Just move. So, yeah. That's a pain in the dick.
Yep. I agree there. So, I actually think we had some nice, surprising answers on that one.
Yeah. All right, so now you said you had a topic before I ran into that, so let's hear yours.
Yeah. So, since we both tend to watch a lot of gaming-related YouTube channels, and this is one I probably wish I thought of beforehand, but what are some of your favorite episodes from, like, your favorite YouTube gamers? What are the episodes that you, like, go back to if you're like, oh, I want to watch this guy. Let me, go check this video out for the 100th time.
So, for me, gaming and YouTube... I go right to, even though I watched them before gaming, or before YouTube, I always go to Angry Video Game Nerd. And
right.
my absolute favorite is his Castlevania reviews. Not even so much for the fact that I love Castlevania, but that was one of the first videos watching him that I was like, he's still doing the angry gimmick, but I felt like he was also... more so than usual, giving a very personal, just it's a love story to a series he loves versus just it's clearly a piece of shit game, because no one's gonna say that Castlevania games all suck. Like, no matter what you feel about some of them, no one's gonna hate them all. So I like that a lot, and that's I don't know. It always that's like a good Halloween getting ready, to play it. So that's usually my go-to for him.
That's a good one. Any
What's
other
yours?
guys that YouTubers?
What, honestly, surprisingly enough,
I know you don't watch them as much as I do.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Gamers. Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I don't watch enough to even do it. So, Angry Video Game Nerd would be the number one I watch the most often. So, I'll stick with that.
Solid. Yeah, I'll start mine with Angry Video Game Nerd as well, like a lot of people will. And for me, actually, for some weird reason, I love his Pong Consoles episode. I think because it's so goofy, but it's him, like, discovering all this ancient technology and, like, all the weird little quirks about them all. Like, it's like the classic things. He gets angry, but he's also funny. But you can also see, like, a real personal side to it, too, that, like, he's really interested in these fucking things. These completely outdated technology. So, for some reason, that, and maybe the Tiger Electronics ones, too. I go to that one, even though that's a little bit of a newer episode. And then, say, the channel GameSack, for some reason, I always watch their renovation games episodes. And I don't know why it's that developer. Maybe it's because of how weird and goofy it is, but I don't know. I watched a shitload out of that. And also just their console overviews in general, like when they talk about the Turbo or the Neo Geo. Their console overview videos are great, just for not only just info, but like as a nice starter's guide, too. And yeah, you know what? Todd actually had a good one. Well, Snarkcast, I should say. And Spoonie, even though he doesn't upload anymore, and that's his own little thing. But he had the Ultimate Retrospective, which was awesome, and his bread and butter that got him famous was him shitting on Final Fantasy VIII. So that's always like a nice little nostalgic trip to watch every now and then. And all of its 480 glory.
Yeah, that's definitely... I can't say I watch any of them. Honestly, and it's probably getting most people hate me. The only other gamer I watched more than a couple videos for was some of the PewDiePie, and the only reason I would watch his when he did his horror games, because it actually made me learn about horror games I just didn't know. Like, a lot of the indie games he did, I was like, oh shit, like Babysitter, Bloodbath, Party Hard, like, those are all games I never heard of until I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, I never would rewatch them. It was just, that's what I would watch from him. So
Makes sense.
All right. Now I think you had a which is better to do.
Yes, I did have a which is better task that I had to come up with. So, all right, let's do this. Which is better? We're gonna go with slightly topical. What do you think are the better licensed games in general? Games that come from Star Wars or games that come from Disney?
Are you counting current what Disney bought, like how they bought all Marvel, or are you counting like old Disney?
Let's say Disney. Marvel.
Like when you say Disney,
let's
my
say through the
gut,
PS2 before they bought Marvel. Let's say through the PS2.
So mostly they're movies and cartoons.
Well, yeah.
Star Wars or actually Disney bought Star Wars, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, this was before then too.
No, I know. All right, so let's think Disney. So some of the bigger ones, and obviously going completely off the top of my head. So DuckTales, that's Disney. I don't, other than Kingdom Hearts, I'm trying to think of other, like, I don't know many Mickey games. I don't know many.
Epic Mickey was after. I mean, you had all the Genesis Mickey games like Castle of Illusion, World of Illusion, Fantasia, which sucked.
Which I never played any of them. Yeah, so I mean, just based on, because I have more experience, but then in general, I think I have more, like, I will try a game from anything if I hear enough good shit about it. And actually, Kingdom Hearts is a game I've always, like, God damn, I just need to play, because I hear so much good stuff about it, and from what I've seen and heard, I know it's something I would enjoy. But with that being said, I think it definitely Star Wars. Just the games I've played with Star Wars, I've been lucky enough to mostly play good ones, that I just think they, on a per-game basis, not knowing how many games Disney has, Star Wars probably kills it. Now, Star Wars has plenty of stinkers, for sure, but then again, they have so many games that it's like, of course they're going to have some. So, yeah, what about you?
Yeah, I'm probably going to go overall Star Wars more, just because they also had the advantage of arcade games, and their pre-NES lineup was, like, an actual thing, unlike, Disney. But I just think, like, I've played the Castle of Illusions, and I like them, and I grew up loving games like Quackshot and shit like that, but I just think the overall quality has always been better with Star Wars games. So I'm going to go with Star Wars as well. So, like, the Super Star Wars series, even though the NES era, definitely goes to Disney. The 16-bit era can almost be a toss-up, really, because the Genesis killed it with their Star Wars or their Disney games, and the Super NES games were good, but I don't know. I think I just like the Genesis ones more as far as that goes. And if you go to the N64 era, again, it goes back to Star Wars, because name a really good Disney game during the the Toy Story games maybe, but besides that, name some really good games from that era. Like, I know there's fans of Hercules, and there's fans of fucking, what were the other ones, like Tarzan and crap like that, but you talk about that era of games, people are going to talk about Shadows of the Empire and Rogue Squadron more, so.
And besides,
I think it's a real give and take there.
I mean, and besides that, like, who cares about N64 games anyway? Jim.
Yeah, I know. But so my vote's gonna go to Star Wars too. Even though
sure.
Disney definitely had some top-notch moments, I still think the overall is gonna go towards it's got to go to Star Wars. Come on now, there's just too many damn games, too many damn good ones.
All right, so as a quick offshoot to that, just because I don't know at all, are there any good Star Trek games?
Nothing that would be fun to the general masses. And I've only played barely a few, but, like, it's all like bridge simulators or like maybe like there's no real action-y games except for that Star Trek Online, which people hate because it's nothing but action. So I don't know. It's kind of that fan base that's like hard to please as well, but it's still like it doesn't lend itself to really action-y games. And it's kind of surprising. Besides Star Trek Online, they don't make more action.
That's what I was gonna say.
Because
Like,
those
why
are action movies now.
In general, I mean, the new movies. I mean, I like the new movies. I know some people.
So do I.
But I'm like shocked. Like, and I thought they did pretty well. Why can't they make good Star Trek movies? Like, that's a franchise that you would be like, why can't you do that?
You mean good movie games or?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, like why?
But yeah, it's weird. It seems like one of those ones where like they just keep missing the opportunity. Even if you made make a space combat game with all the different ship types and all the different races, like, sure, it won't be like, you know, quote unquote Roddenberry's vision, but it could be a fun game that people might actually enjoy playing.
Yeah.
Make it almost like what X-Wing and TIE Fighter were. Make it mission based. Like shit, give us something.
No, I agree. And I also I think about that with a lot of franchises, and you know, did you ever get the feeling, and this might be controversial, hear me out, it wasn't really until Batman, the Arkham games, that you felt like Batman had a proper game. The NES game was amazing, and we know there's other good Batman games, but the Arkham game I felt like was the game Batman fans were waiting for, if that makes sense.
I'd say that's fair, because like the good Batman games before then were all action games, and you know, for outside of the movies, like if you're a comic fan, there's way more to Batman than just, you know, his kung fu. So yeah. I think it did the nice little blend of like, you know, problem solving, and like there's never been a good Batman detective game. It's almost surprising there's never been like even a is there a Telltale Batman game now? I forget.
Oh yeah.
Okay, because maybe that would be the one, but it's something that melds it all together where you have his detective work and, you know, his problem solving and his scientist stuff besides, you know, just the gadgets. It just seems maybe it's a lot to ask to meld all that into one cohesive game, but it just seems like it's never, even with the Arkham games, it's never quite fully reached that potential yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll say the Arkham games have definitely been the closest we've been.
No, I agree.
And I have a lot of Batman games that I love, but...
Now let me ask you, me and you agreed to a degree, but I just bring it up because we just talked about Batman, but the Superman, so it wasn't until that really Xbox game or the 360 game, The Return of Superman, where we're like, finally, a fucking Superman game where you're flying around doing Superman shit. Like, you're going around the city. Like, that's what you've always wanted. And I still feel like they need to make a really good Call to GTA, you know, modded game with a really good
They need
Superman.
to make it interesting. It can't just be like Superman fighting robots and, you know, aliens. It needs to be doing like real high stakes stuff too.
Or getting kittens out of trees, Jim.
Yep.
They can't do that.
They had their secret package version, didn't they?
So, you know, I think about all these type of franchises we love so much, and, you know, I think it's kind of good to, you know, think which franchises have been done justice. Like Spider-Man, everyone pretty much agrees. Spider-Man 2 and games past that knew this is how you make a really good Spider-Man game that people love. You're doing Spider-Man shit, swinging through New York, you know, beating up bad guys, having villains, good story. That's what you need. I would almost argue that, like, so think like X-Men, because of how big that universe is, that X-Men Legends game was awesome because now you have a big enough amount of teams and this and that. I still don't know if that's the perfect one, because I don't know, with the X-Men universe being so big, what could be a perfect X-Men game. But, I mean, I think that was pretty damn close.
Yeah, I think the Legends games, and it's a shame, like we said in another podcast, that they aren't back yet. Pardon me. But, yeah, like, it actually seems like it's been a while since we've had a really good X-Men game in general, too. Like, that's kind of been a forgotten series.
It sucks, and, like, because I know, what was that one? one X-Men game. I can't even remember what it was called, but it was like you were like a new recruit. So there's interesting ways I think.
Oh,
do X-Men.
X-Men Destiny.
Yeah, and I heard mixed things about that, but
I heard mostly bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I kind of just feel like X-Men's a really tough one because there is no one style that would probably be perfect for it. But I feel like there's something out there we're not thinking of that would be really cool and be like, that makes X-Men, like that's the game for it. One game that I'm actually amazed it's been made but isn't really available anymore. A first-person Punisher game. Like there was one for the PS3, but I think it was semi-multiplayer only, and it like either doesn't work or didn't turn out that well. But like, you know, the Punisher game, obviously, I love or we love from PS2. That was like basically as perfect a Punisher, violent as shit, awesome. It had those execution kills, which made it, you know, so much better. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's very. That was a good one. But, you know, kind of going with that, based on your favorite non-comic movie or even video game franchises, what would be like a style of game that you would love to see, you know, something change to, if that makes any sense?
So like a licensed kind of thing that can get done.
Yeah, so for example, like before, like imagine, I'm trying to give an example. So you know how like Halo went from first person to the RTS, you know, that universe lent itself to that, and I know you like that game, but that was
Halo Wars I like, yeah.
But that was a huge tonal shift to like from what it was. So like examples like that. Like even Alien vs Predator had that little RTS, the Extinction game, which I freaking loved. What do you think? Like what's another game that you would like to see change like that?
What would I like to see like that? Especially a series these days. Maybe I'd almost like to see, maybe going back to friggin' combat, or, you know, armored combat games, like what do you call it? Let's take Call of Duty, for example. Like, you know how Assassin's Creed, one of the games that people like the most from that one is, I guess, what is it, Black Flag, because it has the, those pirate ship levels that turned out really well? Mm-hmm. Make a friggin' Call of Duty game, but just base it around, vehicles, shit like that. It's, you know, the thing that we all love. Like one of the reasons I love the war mode so much is because it actually uses it. But
basically have the Call of Duty perk system and its engine, but set with vehicles is what you're saying.
Yeah. Or have like a period piece game like with vehicular combat.
Huh. I like that idea. You know what I would like? This is gonna sound fucking weird. Is somehow get the idea behind Marvel vs. Capcom with the engine of Mortal Kombat and do that with all Bethesda's licenses, like Fallout, Skyrim. I want to see a Deathclaw fight like a fucking, you know, a Dragonborn so bad.
That would be pretty cool. Or like, you know, the what are those helper robots from New Vegas fighting a
Mr. Handy?
Yeah. Fighting a Dovahkiin or something like that.
Exactly. Like that, you know, throw Doom Guy in there from their Bethesda game. Like I don't know, the idea of that kind of mashup would be awesome to me.
Yeah, that actually would be really cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I know we were rambling on a little bit, but that's obviously part of this when you're drinking as much as we do and we're doing this shit, so
yeah.
But before we wrap up, Jim, anything else?
Actually, one more thing that I kind of hate that we forgot to do last week. I just want to give a shout out once again and another thank you to Dan from Console Wars for coming down and doing this podcast with us. after we
that
did the
was
last podcast, I was like, ah, shit, we forgot to thank him for that again. So definitely, Dan, thank you so much for coming down. The dude had a hell of a trip to get down here, and even worse one to get back. But he was a trooper through the whole thing, especially with how drunk we were. And that's the drunkest I've been in a long, long time. So
Yeah.
he's a good dude. Definitely go out, check Console Wars. Make sure you subscribe. That's a great channel.
For sure. Definitely mimic everything Jim just said. One of the things I'll say, I'll give some updates. So, number one, I think we mentioned last time, but I'm not sure. The site, our actual Drink a Beer and Play a Game site, is fully back up. There was a lot of issues, but it's back. So, you can probably way more regularly than YouTube, and even though I've been more consistent with YouTube, you can expect almost daily content with Drink a Beer, because we're backlogging a lot of stuff we had before, plus throwing some new stuff on there. So the site is actually going to get a lot of attention from us. So if you enjoy it, make sure you subscribe to the site itself so you can get the emails from us. Has all of our links to everything we do, and then might highlight some things or touch on some things that YouTube we just don't get to, or even Twitch or our podcast. Speaking of our podcast, because our site's back up, we are back on iTunes, so we would truly appreciate if you love our podcast or you don't want to see our videos and just hear our voices. You can listen to us there, or you can go to our site, listen to it, download it, whatever works best for you guys. As far as YouTube,
what more could you guys possibly want to work out to than the sounds of our voices? Than two guys getting drunk while you try to do push-ups? Come on now.
Hey, maybe people are just trying to grind through a game and they want to listen to us, Jim. Did you ever think about that, jerk?
Hey, that's true. Maybe they'll hear an opinion that they don't like from what we hear from the comments section, mostly mine, that maybe it'll inspire them to go a little harder. So, maybe. You never know.
Well, you are Mark, so, I mean, But, also, in addition, so Jim mentioned, or he threw a comment in there, just recently uploaded Resident Evil 7 review. Jim and I are getting back to doing reviews together. Obviously, Jim, we've mentioned multiple times, he's been a busy boy. So now that everything's back to normal, we're going to get back to regularly scheduled. Starting in December, our goal, we're not going to make lofty goals or projections. One review a week. If we hit that, it's awesome. We're never going to do less than probably 2 or 3 reviews a month, but our goal right now, 1 review a week. Not saying we're not going back to some of our crazy multiple ton of reviews in a month, because we might be working towards that. But yeah, they're going to be few and far between. But obviously we're padding that now with a lot of other videos, with the podcast, with playthroughs, there's going to be different variety of videos being streamed your way, and we're going to obviously see what you guys like, what you don't like. So don't be afraid to comment, send us shit in the community, send us emails. We'll listen to whatever you guys have to say. So I think with all that, I think we're pretty good, right?
Yeah, and just on that note, I guess I'll say Drinking and Thrifting, I should have out in another month or two, the next episode of that, just because I've finally found maybe a few things worth talking about. But yeah, just hardware reviews will be coming back, and just everything will be coming back to normal. So, like Brian said earlier, the page is not dead. Do not worry.
Yep. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you leave us comments for this episode. Keep checking in for more videos, as we just said. And as always, guys,
give us topics and questions. Topics, please.
Yes, please. And as always, guys, cheers.
Cheers.